Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Proper Madness, formerly Beautifully Broken. My name is Sabby, and I give a unique perspective on mental health by providing tools, guidance, and knowledge on how we can better understand ourselves, as well as our past and present experiences, and in doing so, we can help heal our mental health. I get to speak with a variety of individuals from around the world as they share their stories from their journey through their mental wellness so that it helps others stand strong and use their voice. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have Pat. I discovered music on TikTok during a live one day. I was very emotional, and Pat's music came up, and the song Sooner is what you were playing and singing to, and it really resonated with me, which is why I decided to reach out. Just your authenticity and how genuine you are is what I think pulled me to you. So,
I'm Pat. I use they them pronouns. I am in a band called The Low Blow where I sing songs about being sad all the time. And and it's gone pretty okay for me so far. Um yeah, I'm 22, just turned 22. And I am feeling 22.
how are you
Um
feeling 22? You
just very Taylor Swift, in the way that I'm
yeah.
feeling 22. No, it's every year is every birthday is like a reminder to me that I don't know, birthdays, like, I think, like, you're normally supposed to feel like, oh, like, I've gotten a year older, but it's nice and actually relieving to know that, like, growth happens nonstop throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I kind of like not feeling like I've changed when I turn a different age. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like when I turned 21, I didn't feel any different because I feel like I was kind of doing it all year. You know what I mean? Same with
Mhm.
like being 22. It's been kind of a good process, I think.
I like that outlook. Me,
Yeah,
I just turned 30 in April, and I freaked out. So that
go
was.
off, go off.
I look like I'm 12,
You
but
look like you're 12. I wasn't gonna say 12. I was gonna say like 13, probably.
13. That's close enough.
No, I
13,
would.
13 with tattoos just
Yeah, 13.
everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a complicated story. Okay, complicated is maybe not the right word. Um, it's a long story. I started music when I was like 10 years old. Um, because I had a music teacher that I was new to this school and things were just like really weird for me. I had a hard time fitting in because I had only been to Catholic school prior to that. And so like my social skills were very limited. I was like kind of homeschooled in the sense that like my social exposure was limited to like 10 other people. And it was just weird going to a new school and meeting all these kids. It was just a huge culture shock for me. But this teacher really like reached out and like resonated with me. I won't say his name, for risk of, I don't know, like doxing him. I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but he was my fifth grade music teacher, and he um taught the class how to play ukulele as part of one of our units. And I think I took to it a little bit more than the other students because I was like, okay, here is a way for me to like relate to other people. I've always liked singing, kind of. I've always, I grew up with my dad playing music and going to, um, we would we would have like bluegrass jams in like people's like garages and backyards, and I would always go and just idolize him as like, oh my god, my dad's so cool playing guitar. So I've always had a fascination, and this was like the chance to like take a step in that direction. So I picked up the ukulele. Was god awful at it, but I really liked how it felt to like be able to like play a song. And from there, I started learning how to play guitar from my dad. He started teaching me. I eventually kind of outgrew that, started taking lessons, and then around the age of 13, I think it was 13, it might have been 12. Around, I think it was like 13, I started playing live shows um, and gigging. And I did 3 hour shows from the time I was 13 to the time that I was like 18 or 19.
Wow.
Where I would just do these like long sets at bars, like lots more drunk people than probably a 13-year-old should be around. Um, but that's like how I got my chops, is like through I just would perform at these like, whether it was like a music festival or I was the kid, like I had the kid thing going for me where it was like, oh, a kid's doing this, that's crazy, like it wasn't remarkable, it was just that like, oh, I was a kid doing it and that's why it was cool. But I got into a band when I was 14, called Mopai, and we played for like, we were together from like when I was 14, like when I was 18, so it was like 4 or 5 years. And it was just like blues music. And that's when I played like most of the biggest shows, was like playing like 3 hour bar shows, and like going all across the South and playing these like music festivals and things like that. And left it when I was 18 with the guitar player of the band. And we started the Low Blow back in 20, it was January, it was 2018, but it was the New Year's Day, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day of uh of that January 2018 that we started the band. And we released, the next year we released the Capsize EP. And then
Oh, that
this
was,
year
yeah, that's one of my favorite. As soon I heard that song, I don't know what happened. I felt my soul like just go, oh my God. Because that when you sing capsize, I've never heard a pitch just so like so pristine. And even during
oh, thank you.
like your yeah, no, oh my God, here I am complimenting. But I've never heard it's just so pristine and clear, even during
Thank
your
you.
lives as well. Like I can't. I mean, it's just that's one of my favorite songs. Can I know like the lyrics behind that?
Sure, like
The
the meaning
yeah
of it all.
yeah.
Yeah. So Capsize is, it's about like sexuality and gender identity conflicting with normalcy. Um,
Mm,
for me, at least, it's about that. What the deeper meaning is it's about being in a relationship that um you're using as a way of holding yourself back.
mm,
Um, I, that was a point in time in my life where I was discovering a lot about who I was, and I was blaming my desire to, you know, to like seek this new self realization. I was sort of blaming that as my all of my problems, because it was making this person in my life upset, or it was
mm.
inconvenient for them. And looking back on it now, it's like, obviously, that's okay. I should have just, you know, said, screw that. Like, I'm gonna do me, but
Yeah
at that point in my life, it was kind of like my Capsize is like a coming of age EP, in the sense that it's about like realizing, um it was me kind of realizing that the horizons were broader than I had originally allowed myself to believe. That's why there's a song called Somewhere Off in the Distance,
mm.
which is just about like, there's more to this world. It's not just like the little island you live on. Everything is like
Yeah
further off. And Capsize is about like being afraid of being toppled over in that self actualization journey of like sailing beyond where what
yeah
happens if a storm comes up and knocks you over and pulls you under. And that's kind of where I was at that point in time. And Capsize is like directly about that.
yeah.
Blood on my hands, I'm a lonely man, afraid of the lovers I seek. Um,
Yeah.
I'm dancing in a burning field of love letters I'll never speak is like probably the most like direct quote from that EP about like what it is about. It was definitely a very hard. That EP was like easy to write, but like hard to say. If that makes any sense.
No,
Like
100%. Because I think, in a way, it's like you. It sounds strange, but it's a way of you expressing those trapped emotions, right? Because when you
that's
put pen
kind of
to
a theme
paper,
you'll
yeah,
notice. That's kind of a
yeah,
theme you'll notice about my music is that or my songwriting is that like especially with the most recent EP Hurting Healing that just came out,
mm,
a lot of that is like I wouldn't say it otherwise, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I probably other than like my prayers fall on deaf ears if anyone here listens to this EP. Um a lot of those things are things I would probably never articulate if it weren't for the medium of music.
music,
Um
yeah,
just cuz I think music makes things a little bit easier to understand. I think with like words um it's like okay, I'm going to use a series of like sounds to like communicate a very complex emotion that I'm
yeah,
experiencing inside. Like I'm going to say a few different words and try to combine them in the right way to like communicate what I think, and if I do it wrong someone's going to get like upset with me. But in music it's like oh no, I can like force an emotion upon somebody. I can literally like throw them into the ring with all of my sad and just make them like do you get it? Do you see what I'm talking about? Like
yeah, yeah,
that's kind of why the low blow sounds the way it does is cuz I like I want it to like you can't help but like feel something.
hmm.
This is kind of what it's what I go for and what the band goes for as well.
I would say from the second I heard you sing, I could like literally feel the emotion behind it. And with that, almost every lyric, every tonation, every sound, you could feel the emotion. Especially with Sooner, that first line, um, I would say to me stuck out. I was like, oh, I was like, I want to know who was it? Who did he lose? Like what
Mm-hmm.
happened? But like I feel like you take us on a journey with your
Well,
music,
thank you.
almost like a story. Yeah, no, just that's just that. I've I grew up singing as well offsite. I grew up singing and playing music, so when you talk to someone who also is in that realm, you just kind of understand things differently than someone who never really got into it, you know?
Right, right.
It's almost like you're speaking a different language to someone who never like played music or sang or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, cuz just that improvisation of picking up a guitar or playing the
Right.
piano.
It's interesting. I think that's why music is so wonderful is because even though there is like higher forms of it in playing it,
Mhm.
I think everyone in some way can understand it immediately.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why it's so powerful. It's not like it's there is some music I will say that like if you're not a musician and you're listening to it, you're probably gonna like scratch your head and be like, this is like very dense like free form jazz. Someone's probably going to listen to that who's not a musician and be like
Yeah.
wow, this is like a lot. And I do that as someone who's been playing music for over 10 years. But like that okay, that's not a dig at freeform jazz. I love it. It's the best
Mm,
genre in the world. No, but I think that like but like even then there are still like moments where people will like draw their own like parallels, and that's
mhm.
kind of why I like um making music the way I do is because people would hear sooner like when I
Yeah.
first released or when we first released it that was like oh, this reminds me of my grandfather, like who I lost. I'm like
Mhm.
wow, it is not about your grandfather at all. And it's like if you had this dynamic with your grandfather, I'd be very seriously concerned. But no, it absolutely is about your grandfather. Like
Mhm.
it's like funny to me how people will, like I remember some people would be like hearing Sooner and they'd be like, oh, this is like a song about borderline personality disorder.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I don't have borderline personality disorder, but like I can
Yeah.
totally see how like some people who have that would like find comfort in the lyrics.
Mm.
Cuz it's like, you know, like the amount of care that you have for somebody, you know, like a lot of people who suffer from that have, you know, that level of like emotion and like fragility, like in like being afraid of pushing someone away, that like people were
Mm.
understanding it. And I thought that was so interesting and intriguing, and people will draw parallels like, oh, these characters in this show are like, this is their song. I'm like, I never watched this show in my life, but that's
That's
awesome.
cool. That's really cool. I'm sure it must be like, because I mean, in a way, people will interpret it how they're supposed to in that moment. I guess
Right,
that's I guess that's just the whole point of making some form of art,
right,
in any
right.
way. But to you, that probably is. I would think. I don't know, just outside perspective. I would think means a lot. I mean, it seems to come from a very deep place. Was that? Can you walk me through the moment of when you came up with that song, or like what happened? And
Sure. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, without revealing really too much,
yeah,
just because, well, okay. And I want to say why I choose not to really speak on what exactly the song is about is because, one, I do appreciate and like care that people find their own subjective truths in it,
yeah.
and I don't really want to like
Ruin that.
throw. It's bigger than me. Like Sooner is not my favorite song. I'll be honest. It's not my
Which
favorite
one?
song ever.
What can
It's
I
not.
ask? What your favorite one is?
Um. Okay, that's a good question. I haven't thought of. I think probably "My Prayers Fall on Deaf Ears" is my favorite song.
Hmm.
I'll get into that in a minute, but so Sooner, it came about. I had just gotten out of a dynamic with somebody that it was like, you know, I didn't have any you know, malcontent, or like I wanted a. It's basically a song about wanting the best for somebody that is no longer going to be in your life anymore, and
Hmm.
you have to accept it. And
Yeah.
that's really all it is.
Yeah.
It's I didn't want it to like, I think the breakup song formula is always like, fuck you, you broke my heart, you monster, you're the worst possible thing. But there's not enough songs, I think, out there that are like, it's not my fault,
Yeah.
it's not your fault, I don't want to make you feel guilty, I just want you to know that I hope everything's going to be okay, and it hurts me, but like I'm not
Mhm.
going to act like you're a monster for seeking your
Yeah.
own truth. And I think that's why the song is resonating with a lot of people, because that's kind of like a territory that's not super explored. Because
Hmm.
I think a lot of music relies, a lot of culture and media relies on like the sensationalism of like emotion and like response and like outrage, or like
Yeah.
you know, like just like a really like haptic response to something, like, oh, you broke my heart, I'm just in an absolute hysterics. But like uh, I think Sooner is like the quiet sadness of like,
Mm.
I'm not trying to make you feel guilty, I just need you to know that like I did care about this, you know, and like
Yeah.
I want. And I think that's why that's where it came from, is that's all it was. It was just, it wasn't something super complex. I actually, okay, so this is the release story of it, which is going to contextualize this a lot. um I wrote the song like 2.5 weeks before I put it on TikTok, and it was just the little bit that's on TikTok. And when I posted it, I was like, I just gotten like 7,000 followers on TikTok.
Mm.
um and because of some duet videos I did, and people were like, "Oh wow, cool, you're doing duet
Yeah.
videos," and I was like, "Yeah." Um, so yeah, so that was like happening for me, and I was like, I need to keep posting content. So I posted this little shitty little late night sad song that I wrote, and I like sat on it for a while because I was like, is this like, too sappy? Whatever, I'll post it. I don't care. And I put my phone down and like maybe like called a friend or something, or like talked to my bandmates, or I don't even remember what happened. And then I go back and check TikTok because I don't have push notifications on. And I went back and it was like 99 plus notifications. And I was like, what? Sorry, what? And I looked and it was at 7,000 likes within the first, or it was like the next day or something like that. Like I'd posted the night before, it was like the next day, and it was like at 7,000 likes, and I was like, whoa, okay. This has not happened like this in a while. um and I like texted my bandmates, and like throughout the night it was literally like, oh, I bet we're gonna get to like 15K by the end of the night.
Mm.
It was at like 50,000
Jeez.
likes by the end of the night. And I remember getting up to like, I can't remember what it was. I remember getting up to like 20K that night on like followers, and just being like, what the fuck is going on? That like anyone like this little song that I didn't even like think about, like when I was writing. I was just like sad, and I was like, I think I lost you sooner than I wanted to. That's the start of it. Where are we going from here? And I just wrote it. And then people were like, oh, this is like the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I want to throw all of my kind words at it. And it just blew up. And I had people like Joshua Bassett commenting, or no,
Mm.
not Joshua Bassett, he commented on a different video. But like people like oh god, I have to like remember who commented. It was a long time ago, but like a bunch of people that I was like huge fans of were commenting on it, and like, this is beautiful. And like I was like, okay, what do I do? um and it was just so surreal, all the support that it got. And so I was like, guys, we have to fucking record this song and post it. So I literally that night wrote the rest of the song. I just like threw a bridge and an extra verse on it. It's a pretty short song as it is, but went to their house because they all live together in a different part of the state. I drove to their house an hour and a half away, and we recorded the song, and I went home and mixed it. And I don't think I slept for like at least 24 hours because I was just like up, wired, just like mixing this song in my, like, obsessively mixing it in this room, just like we have to post it. And yeah, we put it on Spotify, and Spotify didn't approve it for like 2 fucking days. And I was like,
Oh,
everyone was in my replies like, when is it gonna be on Spotify? I'm like, I'm so sorry, please don't kill me. And but yeah, and then it got out, and then it's at like 500,000 right now, which is like really insane to me, because also
how
that
does
means
it
that like
feel?
a good,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how that feeling just must be overwhelming, right, for you and your band. I'm
I yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it's like, it's weird because I don't care about Sooner anymore, that
mm,
song. Not because like I don't relate to it. I definitely did at one point. It's
mm,
just so weird, like knowing that like one of the worst chapters of my life is like now the best, like one of the best things about my life. Like
yeah,
this terrible event that I like, this terrible feeling I went through really is like, now all of a sudden it's like the one thing that like defines like so many people's view of our music, which is,
mm,
it's cool, but it's also weird because it's like, oh god, like I want them to see what else we have. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I really want people to like, and we've gotten some engagement with the EP. We're really hoping that the EP would be like an extension of like, I'm saying like a lot, would be an extension of the Sooner vibe, I guess.
Mm.
There's even a song that's like a direct sequel to Sooner called Replaced. But I actually kind of like the way it all shook out, where like everyone kind of puts all their attention in Sooner, but the real people that like really like I get to engage with and like I know will come to shows and I know will buy merch,
Mm.
they're all the ones that are listening to the EP. And the like
Yeah.
the real like super involved and dedicated fans is like what I care about the most. And it doesn't matter to me like how many streams we get, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
Sooner it's like cool, but I've also heard songs that are like ridiculously silly that get like a million in the first week. So
Yeah.
I I I'm not like basing our music's validity on like the amount of attention it gets. I'm just glad to like create and have an audience for it, however big, however small, which we have a pretty good size right now, so that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. How did you guys start the band? Like, how did you guys meet? Like, what happened?
Um, so Connor and I, the guitar player, have been friends for like I guess like 9 years now. Whoa, that's insane. He's like my brother. Has supported me through everything, dropping out of college, my mental health issues, my breakups, and my gender transition. Um, and has just been such a like source of comfort for me. We basically decided during the later part of 2017 that I was like, I'm not really feeling this blues band anymore. Like it's not like
Mm.
my thing. Like we're playing for money and I the money's cool and I like getting, paid but it's like sucking the life out of me. Like
Mm.
it's draining me of like creativity. I don't feel like writing anymore cuz everything just feels like I have to give it to this band that I'm not super happy in. And no hate to the other members of the band. They're all talented and skilled musicians, and I wish them luck on their endeavors. It wasn't the people. It was just, it wasn't for me. And so Connor and I were like, what if we just like did a new thing and like just
Mm-hmm.
made it our own and did what we wanted and put our favorite musicians in it? And that's kind of what we did. We just like started this new band, and it was kind of a continuation of the first band in the first like year. You can tell that because "Rockin' a Hard Place," the first single
Mm-hmm.
we ever released, is way different than the stuff that we put out now. Like it's
Yeah.
it's literally like impossibly different. Because we were gonna be a neo soul band, like we were gonna be like a hiatus coyote slash like St. Paul and the Broken Bones kind of thing. Because that's what I sang. I sang like R&B and soul.
Mm-hmm.
But as we kind of got through Capsize, that EP, I was like, we've got to like I don't want to do the whole like soul thing anymore. It just doesn't feel like me. I'd rather write really like soulful songs in the sense that like they touch your soul. Um,
Yeah.
so the lineup changed quite a bit throughout the time that we were all doing it. Like our first bass player was actually one of the members of the original band, and he was more like an R&B style player, but he had some like there was a lot of distance issues because I moved to my college town, and our drummer also lived at the old in my hometown versus the town I went to for college, and it just didn't like work out, and the vibe wasn't there, and I think everyone had like a different idea of what we were gonna do, and so we uh we like let them go basically, and then we were like, okay, basically starting from square one again. um our roommate Cody, who produced the EP, the Capsize EP, became our bass player, even though he was way too busy to do it. He became our bass player, and then our drummer was our friend Taylor, who we were all in Cody's band with prior, because
Mm-hmm.
Cody had a band that we all played in as well. So a lot of finding musicians for bands is like being in a band with them before and then starting a band with the members of the band that you were in with that broke up. And so we formed around that, and then I wrote the Capsize EP in a few months with them. We released it. It was really cool and awesome reception for the little DIY band that we were.
Hmm.
Um, and then I we got serious, and we've been working on an album for about 2 years now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Overlapping with the
Yeah.
EP, and um, right now it's like we kind of got to like the final stages of it. But we had the departure of our keyboard player Matthew back in December, and that kind of put like a little bit of a stop on things for now. And we just decided, okay, we need to put something out. So what we're gonna do
Yeah.
is we're gonna record 5 songs, 5.5 songs really, in the span of a month, and we're going to record and master it all in a month, and we're going to release it, and we're going to call it Hurting Healing, and that's what Hurting Healing is. So
So you mentioned earlier that Connor helped you through your mental health.
mhm.
What have you been through in regards to your mental health, and how has music and being in the band with the low blow, how has that helped everything in your journey?
I yeah, I it's it's a long list. To kind of like condense it, I've just gone through a lot of issues with being who I am, and finding out who that is, and not letting the pressures of what other people expect get to me. Um, I I struggled a lot with my sexuality. Um, I came out back in 2015, but I didn't really come out like publicly until like fairly recently, which it still is kind of like one of those things where it's like on the down low. Like I don't
Mm,
like really speak about it. I just simply like I identify as LGBTQ plus, and it's like whatever, like I don't really talk about it that much, but that's just because I yeah, I won't even get into that. But the main thing is that I've struggled a lot with anxiety issues, and depression issues that have like been very crippling for me. I had I have something called agoraphobia, where
mhm,
I was unable to leave the house for the better part of like a year and a half. I did, but it was like I was kind of like a shut in, just because I don't know, there wasn't a desire to leave the house. I think there was a fear a little bit, because I just had this like really bad like panic disorder that like it wouldn't let me like see the world, and so I I had that, and then I also dealt with a lot of like body image issues and body dysmorphia and an eating disorder, and of course that's like you know really terrible things, but the thing is like Connor and also the band and also this place of like creation has been such a wonderful thing of like it doesn't like it doesn't matter what your issue is when it comes to like creating, your journey with that is celebrated.
mhm,
Like, and that's kind of something we in the Loblo have always like said to one another. It's like it doesn't matter how hurt you are, like your path to victory is like what we're here like we're here to help you to your path to victory. And I remember when I first came out as non-binary back in 2020 in April. I was like so afraid that everyone was going to be like, no, 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 no. I'm just not going to listen, and I'm going to like kill you or something. Not really. That's okay, but
No,
I didn't
but
think they were going to
we
kill me.
went dark. Don't worry.
No, I just was afraid that like, yeah, I don't know, like any reasonable fear that someone in that like is like, hey, I don't use this name anymore. I don't use these pronouns anymore. I think there's like a genuine fear in most of those people that it's like, oh, okay, no one's gonna care or no one's gonna
Mm.
respect it. And they were the first people to like I remember I would like call the band up and like have like a little meeting with them, and it would surprise me how quick they were to just like use my preferred name and my preferred pronouns. And I was like, what? Like no one does that. Like no one does this. I just came out the other day, but like they were so quick to like correct and change. And um it's kind of been that way. That's just kind of how it is with them,
Mm.
with the boys. They're people that like, it's like, oh, you've got an issue, okay, well, we'll stick around, we'll see if we can help. And it's never like, let's fix it for you, let's, let me control the conversation for you, Pat. It's always like, hey, what can, or can we help you, is there anything we can do? And I think that that's like why I feel so comfortable creating with them. I've written some of the most intimate music I've ever written in this last year. um I mean, Hurting Healing is literally like so confessional and like intimate and like hard. It's like a
Yeah.
hard EP to release. I still don't really think about it that much, but they were just so, I guess, helpful. I don't know, like maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
They were just very like they're vessels, and where they impart their own emotions is like so beautiful. It like lifts it, I think. um
That's very, I think it's very, very beautiful. I can't imagine how difficult it can be to voice, like what you needed to voice.
mhm.
And then also, I mean, you're in a on a public platform in a sense, and so that's
Yeah.
scary in and of itself, right? Like,
Oh, it has been. It's been
yeah.
terrifying.
Oh, I can't. I mean, like, yeah, I can't imagine the toll that that takes on your mental health, to be honest.
I uh I think it did in the beginning, but at this point it's kind of okay, I don't mean it's funny to me. It's just like I can't imagine the headspace you must be in to like, I almost take pity on those people. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm better than you. I don't think that at all. I think that it's like
Mm.
you are so afraid of what other people might think if you were to just give this a second thought. Like
Mm.
you I remember growing up in the homophobic South. It's like it's so easy for your first inclination when you see someone be like, "Hey, respect me." For so many people, their first inclination is, "No, I don't want to.
Mm.
You don't tell me what to do." And so people will go in my comments and they'll say that they're gonna kill me and sell my organs on the black market and
Ugh.
threaten to like come to my house and kill me. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, if me being happy, alive, and comfortable with myself is so threatening to you
Mhm.
that you feel like you want to kill me, then I'm glad that you're afraid of me. I'm so glad you are. I will live that truth. I will be the monster under your bed, baby, until you can. I live in your head rent free. It's cozy in here. There's heat and there's water, and I'm happy. Because I don't, I think I would give them the time of day if I didn't care what people say on the internet. Like,
Mhm.
I simply don't care what anyone says on the internet. It's just discourse. It's people thinking they're going to change something or scare me into submission or something, and it's really funny and cute for me to see cuz I like, if they knew me in real life, they wouldn't say these things to me, or if they did, I
Yeah.
would just walk away. I Most of the people that are mean to me in my comments are actually fans. I've I've had people be like, "Oh, I love your music and I respect you, but you're a man and nothing's ever going to change that, and you know and I don't respect your gender identity, I don't respect your sexuality. You can just shut up about it." And I'm like, "So you're a fan and you listen to my music
Oh
and
man.
you don't respect my something's not adding up here, and it's not because like I deserve respect or whatever. I probably don't in their mind, but like, how are you like? You're telling me you like intimately relate to songs about my experience, and then you like don't respect me being like this. Like, you baby, that's like 50% of the meaning right there. Like, you're like, I think you're relating to
Yeah.
this a little too much. You might be projecting a little. um no, I take pity on those people, and it's not because like
Yeah.
I think that like it's not my job to educate them. That the resources are out there, they're scared, and I understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand, but I can see the line. You know what I mean? I can see the path, the process.
Yeah.
So I just ignore it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I just block them. It's like, okay, I mean, you're just not going to comment on my page anymore. It's fine.
It's very strong, very, very strong, very brave of you, to be honest. Because I know
Oh well.
that, no, I mean, like, because a lot of people, they probably let it get to them immediately, and then it fosters like crippling depression, bouts of depression, and then they
Oh
just, you know what I mean? So the
yeah.
strength that you have to like to do that is amazing and brave and very courageous.
I'd
So,
rather them attack me than like younger, more like effeminate trans, or like
mm,
more like out trans people. I would rather them
yeah,
attack me than them, because
yeah,
those people, this I have the privilege of like, I don't really look androgynous. I just kind of do
mhm,
whatever. And so people can just come to my page and assume that I'm just a guy, which is
yeah,
fine. Like, I don't, like, it's fine, I guess. Like, check my pronouns, but like, I don't care. I would much rather that, like, I can take it. I
mhm,
would much rather it not be diverted onto like trans youth, or like trans people of
yeah,
color, or disabled trans people, because it's like the internet is a stinky, stinky place. That is it's a world where teenage boys will say the most psychotic and angry things you'll ever hear in your life. Like, literally, like, being like, oh, this person deserved to be murdered or something like that. And I'm like, there's like no humanity in this person's heart, or there is, and they're just so like, they are coping so hard that they're not like it's I think people think it's uncool to have compassion, and I think that's so
yeah.
annoying. It's so
Teenage boys are a
childish.
pain in the ass, though. You know, like actually just
I grew
teenagers
up
in
around those
general.
kinds of teenage boys too.
Yeah.
That's I think that's like part of like my experience with my gender is like, I grew up in a world where like I think I there's a line in Beautiful where I literally say I made friends who hurt me so I wouldn't do it myself,
Mm,
because like I think I resented a large part of myself, so I made friends with people that would mock me and
yeah.
roast me all the time. So I became good at roasting, but also it was like there was like a chasm of like,
Yeah. Self
ooh,
harm
ooh,
and
this
it.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. That's an interesting. Actually, that's an interesting parallel because I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it.
Mhm.
But it's kind of funny how we choose people like that as unknowingly, it's like subconsciously, like a mirror
Mhm.
in a way. You know.
It definitely is, and I think a lot of teenage boys, people in general, actually, I'll say that a lot of I'll say young people will fall into that pitfall of like, I don't like myself very much, so I need people that are constantly calling me on my bullshit. But when you look for that kind of thing, the kind of people that are just there to call you on your bullshit will follow really quickly. And
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to fall into that trap of like, oh, okay, this is how I show my affection to my friends. I'm very, very mean to them all the time, and I make them feel small, because as long as I'm not doing it to somebody else, it's good that I'm doing it to my friends, right? Like, but I kind of, yeah, like, I grew up in a world where like I made friends, yeah, like I literally made friends with people that could, um, because if it was friends making fun of me, it wasn't strangers making fun of me. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I could be
Yeah.
the butt of the joke, and I could control that.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's why now I'm not afraid of that kind of thing anymore. Because it's like I've been attacked about my weight, about being too effeminate, about being, you know, about being over, yeah, like being fat, being effeminate, being queer, being whatever. My whole life, I've always been treated differently because of those things. So it's like, what's the difference if someone on the internet who doesn't know how awesome I am says that I'm, says I'm like this, and that's not me being like I'm fucking cool, but like they just don't know me. So it's like, yeah, sure, it's probably really easy for you to say these things just on looking at who I am, but
Yeah,
Jeffrey
they don't
Marsh
know
has a
you.
wonderful quote about Jeffrey Marsh, a wonderful they're a wonderful non-binary like content creator on TikTok that everyone should go check out. They have this quote where they're like it's basically, so someone was like, "Oh, like you're such a strange person," and they're like, "Oh, so you do view me as a person?" Um, and like, oh, I don't have to respect you by the looks of you. You're right. You are, so you've admitted something here, that you don't respect me by the look of me. It's all about how I look on the outside. But if we were to meet one another, if we were to speak to one another, you might recognize me as a human, but you're just judging me based on looks alone. To paraphrase heavily. And that like
Mm.
resonates with me. It's like people see me with like my shitty facial hair coming in and my nail polish and my earrings, and they're like, wow. Someone the other day was like, you are confusing to look at. And I'm like, yes,
Oh no.
I was like, thank God they get it. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's what I want. And but it's just so funny to me that like someone like they were just like, I need to make sense of what is happening right now. So I'm going to comment on your live while you're playing that you are confusing to look at. And it was kind
Oh,
of comforting for me in a way. Like,
why
even
was it
though it was an
comforting to you?
it was like an insult, but like it was also like they kind of get it. Like,
Mm.
because I think that's like all gender is like it's a performance of ideas that culture and society has like given us as a guideline. Like, okay, if you're a woman, these are the set of things that you do.
Mm.
If you're a man, here's a set of things that you do, and here's the colors you wear, and here's the jobs you have and the things that you do. And it's all stigma. So when someone goes up on stage and they're like, I'm trying to get booed off the stage of gender performance, then everyone freaks out because they're like, you're not doing the thing right. You're doing it wrong. You're going up and you're saying something different. And there's outrage. Everyone gets so mad. They're like, you can't do that. We've been told we have to do this our entire life. So why are you all of a sudden like, why are you exempt from that? Biology textbook, blah, blah, blah. Like they do that a lot. And it makes people upset because here's someone who is like saying, no, 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 no. I'm not going to let stigma define who I am. I'm not going to let those sort of things like dictate how I perform, how I act in the world, because life is short, life is fleeting, and we could die at any moment. Why am I spending so much of my time being afraid of what I want to be? Why am I so afraid of that? It's Disney Channel. It's so Disney Channel. But like
Yeah.
it's true. They
Mm.
have that one thing right. Disney Channel has that one thing right. Everything else is a lie. The
Oh,
one thing
100%.
the one thing that's true, other than people breaking into song at random times, is that it's so important to be true to who you are.
It is.
Why
And
waste
that's
time?
why, huh? What did you say?
I just said, why waste time? You know.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think much of the world, unfortunately, spends a lot of time being someone who they think they should be instead of who they want to be. And it's like they hide that little part of themselves for forever. And then, before they know it, they're dead. Well, they won't know if they're dead because they'll be dead, but they'll be dead. And like what would you have lived for? Who are you going to be? You're going to be like who other people have told you you should be, like your parents or society or whatever. And it's silly. It's really, really silly to me. Um, which is I resonate with a lot of what you say in so many ways. And I think, in my opinion, that and it sounds cliche, but like different is beautiful. That's it. Period. Like it shouldn't have. That's it. Like it shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I the way I've always sort of described it is it's like it's so silly to me that like gender can be boiled down to a series of colors that you wear and a demeanor of how you speak. Like that's so silly to me that like that it's that fragile that like a man will be like, I think like they'll wear gay or they'll wear gay, they will wear pink, they'll wear pink, and people will literally be like, okay, I am worried that this man may be a homosexual. And it's like, okay, so what you're telling me right now with your mouth and your mind and your soul and body, your whole chest, is that because this man is wearing the color pink, it is now signaling to you and everyone else that he is somehow just like gay. Like that's insane to me. Like how do people like think that and like be like, oh yes, that is the natural way of the world, that like there are men and there are women and everyone else who's not like that is just crazy.
It's
I'm
silly.
sorry.
It's
Is
so
it like
silly.
oh no, oh no, I'm screwing with the world because I put paint on my nails. Like I don't like my gender feeling like a rebellion, but for some
Mm.
reason it is. You know what I mean? Like for
Yeah.
some reason me doing what I do is like insane to people. I just wish I could I wish other people, I wish other trans people could just do their thing and like people not even like draw attention to it even in a positive way where they're like, yes,
Mm.
go the fuck off. Like I really wish that like that whole experience could just be like the same way someone who dyes their hair a different color. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. They dyed their hair a different color. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna draw so much attention to that, but I'm gonna let them just do it and then support them. Like
Yeah.
I really wish that's kind of how we did it, but unfortunately it's like we live in a world that's so anti those things that you have to be like radically for them for them to not like crumble, I think, in some ways.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm harping on that one thing.
So I started noticing that you were doing tarot card like of the major
Yes.
arcana. What? Okay. How? First of all, what gave you that idea? That's so goddamn
Mm.
creative. I don't think I know anyone who's done that. It's cool. I think the magician one, that one stuck out to me the most.
That's the one
I
most
don't know
people are
why. Just
liking.
oh really? I thought I was
Hmm.
unique. God damn it.
No, you are
Um,
unique. You absolutely are. Your uniqueness just lines up with a lot of other people's uniqueness as well.
oh heavens to Betsy. Um, I don't know why I
Let's get
say that.
Betsy in here.
But yeah, how did you start that idea?
Uh that's a good question. That's a really good question. I like talking about this. Um so I'm a tarot reader. I do tarot readings for close friends, family. I'm probably going to eventually open it up to start doing like professional readings where like I actually like book clients and things. But I I've always resonated with this one card. It started with the magician. Um and I think I was just going to write a song about the magician card, but I was the magician card is kind of like the card of like realizing the the troubles and like turbulence of the world. The
Mm,
first card in the major arcana is not the magician actually, even though it's card one. Card zero is the first card, and
that's
it's
the fool.
the fool.
Yeah.
And the fool represents the beginning of the hero's journey, where it's like happy-go-lucky. I'm in a haze of like, I'm basically drunk on happiness and like, I'm blind to everything. The magician is kind of like the card of like unforeseen dangers and like new information. There's a lot of meanings to it, but what that sort of spoke to me was like I'm in this place where like I'm still very tender from like I've gone through some breakups, two major breakups in the last year or so, and um, it was like I'm kind of in a place right now as like to to just like report in on where I'm at right now, where I don't really think I am comfortable with being loved or loving right now, and it's just because I think well, the first line of the magician is I'm denying this love to find it in myself, um, but I don't think that I ever will, or I don't know if I ever will, um, because it's kind of where I'm at. It's like sometimes people want to take that break to like just like, oh, I'm gonna find myself, but like what happens when that doesn't happen? Like what happens
Mm.
when I've been looking for this love forever and it's like, oh shit, I really have so much work to do. Um, and yeah, that kind of like made me really think of the magician. That was like I had the line before the song. And so I kept writing about it. About how like it's a song about like self-sabotage of like I cheapen the good things that I find in my life because I don't want to lose them. Or like, like I don't know, like, oh, here's a good opportunity. I don't want it. I can't take it because I just know I'm gonna screw it up somehow. So if I there's a line in another one of the songs that I've never released that I wrote late at night, which is like, you never have bad endings if you don't ask to begin,
Mm.
or it's easier to never want to win because if I or there's another one of my TikToks that one of the lyrics is if I stay down will it keep me from falling,
Oh
and
wow.
that's kind of what inspired me to write Magician. Was like, this is a really complex feeling I'm having right now where it's like I'm not seeking the crest that necessitates the trough, if that makes any sense. Not seeking the peak that necessitates the valley. I'm just kind of doing it like this right now. So I was like, okay, I really relate to this. I'm gonna take every card of the major arcana, which is like one of the most beautiful lineups of like divinatory materials ever. Just like the major arcana is just like such a gorgeous and like diverse and like intriguing and mysterious like world of like just emotional realities. Like even just like the, the amount of exploration it's allowed me to do. The reason I had that idea was just because I was like, what would if I was framing everything around this set of cards, like what does that like what does that coax out of me? What does that bring out of me? Because I think it's easy to write about the same things all the time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sad, miss somebody, and I'm hate myself, blah 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 blah. But like, what happens when I write about my mom or my dad?
Mm.
Or like, what happens when I write about religion? What happens when I write about hating somebody? What happens when I write about inner strength? Um, and so it was just an exercise. And people keep asking me, okay, I'm going to answer this once and for all right here. People have been asking me if I'm going to release an album of the songs. I'm probably not going to. And the reason why is because people are like, okay, where are the full songs? I'm like, that they're right there. I wrote these
Mm.
songs to be a minute long. I wrote them to be on TikTok, and that's where they're gonna live. That's their little home. I might release The Magician someday, but no, they're not there to be like they're not there to like go into the rest of the world. I wrote the songs to be as they are, which is these little 1 minute nuggets of thought and emotion. So
I love them. I think it's very unique, very creative. Honest to God, and I like that they're a minute long. I think if they were any longer, it would lose its value to a degree and the power behind it. To be honest, I
I
don't know.
wrote them to be
I'm just
dense. Like
yeah.
to be just stacked with
Like
meaning.
like a punch of flavor, you know what I mean? Just bam in their face.
Yeah, yeah. I
Then
just
that's it,
pantomime
yeah.
punching the camera for anyone who's listening to non-visual medium.
If anyone that has listened to this podcast resonated with anything that you talked about, and you were to give them any advice, what would you say to them?
The path to self actualization, the path to self realization and happiness is not on the shoulders of someone else. You will only find that in yourself, surrounded by those that encourage you to do that. Any person that tells you that they know what's right for you, that they know what you should do, that's not a mental health professional, that's not a doctor, that's not like a scientist or something that has like a degree. And even some scientists and some psychologists are not best for this, but any person that tells you what they know, that they know what's best for you, is a snake oil salesman, and you need to kick them to the curb, because what they're trying to do is control you. And in the end, all you have is yourself. So treat yourself with a little bit of respect and kindness, the same way you would afford it to anybody else. That's my advice, because that's, if you've resonated with the things that I've said, do not let other people manipulate you. I think that's kind of, it's really easy to do. And in the same vein, don't manipulate other people. If people come into your life looking to help you, set firm boundaries, because it's really easy to be that person that's like, oh, I'm so hurt. I'm so hurt. Do exactly what I want, please. Set firm
Mm.
boundaries. Set firm boundaries. And if they don't set, if no one's setting any boundaries, that's a recipe for a spicy meatball, and not in the good way. Make that the
Yeah.
tagline.
The recipe for a spicy meatball.
Please don't make that the
Oh man, now you got my wheels spinning. I'm so sarcastic
no.
and dark with my humor.
Oh no.
No, I won't.
Sure. At the low blow TN on Instagram, the low blow on Spotify. If you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm Pat Who Is Nice. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Pat Who Is Nice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We just put it on an EP called Hurting Healing, and it's about those things. It's about hurting and also coincidentally healing. So if you want to listen to that kind of music written by the sexiest person you've ever heard the voice of on a podcast, that's my band. So no, go check out our music, and just like leave weird mean comments on my TikTok if you don't mind. So thank you. Thank you.
We've lost our marbles. That's it.
I saw the podcast concept and I thought it was really cool. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for listening. And remember, you have to go through the eye of the storm to see the clear horizon ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.